Welcome back to Season 12 of Limited Supply, the only commerce podcast with unfiltered and refreshingly hot takes. I'm your host, Nick Sharma, and when I'm not recording, I'm behind the scenes scaling your favorite celebrity and consumer brands. Let's start talking all things direct-to-consumer. Welcome back to another episode of Limited Supply. This week is going to be a fun episode. We go super tactical and also very psychological into the world of CRO, that's conversion rate optimization. I brought on a friend of mine, Dylan Ander, who he's been doing CRO his whole life. And now he sees billions of data points with heat map. And we just talked all things CRO. What are the low-hanging fruit things you should focus on? You know, what actually from a rebrand drives conversion increase on new websites, or what are the long-term things you can focus on to drive conversion versus the short-term things? We spent about an hour going through all of it, and honestly, it was a really fun conversation. It'll feel like you're like a fly on the wall in the room with me and Dylan just shooting the shit on CRO. So check out the episode. Let me know what you think. And honestly, I hope you hear something in here that's going to make you an extra 30, 40, 50 grand. I think you will. Dylan's got a lot of good tips in here. So enjoy the episode. Let me know what you think. And as always, I'll see you next week. Today's sponsor is OmniSend, email marketing that actually makes sense. OmniSend gives you powerful features without the clunky, complicated, and overpriced experience. Email, SMS, flows, reporting, everything you need. Learn more about how OmniSend stacks up against its competitors at nick.co/OmniSend. All right, Dylan, welcome to Limited Supply. This is the first time you're on Limited Supply, right?
First time, first of many.
Amazing. Cool. Well, a lot of people know you as the CRO guy. I know you as a friend, but during 9 to 5, I know you as the CRO guy, and we're always texting about new CRO ideas. And so I thought, why not have a fun discussion where we bring you on and just chat all things CRO, kind of dive into your brain of how you think about site optimization or user psychology. So we're going to do that today. But before we get started, you want to give everybody who's listening just a quick intro of yourself. Essentially this intro, I want you to give yourself the credibility as to why people should listen to the rest of this episode.
Happy to. Well, everyone, hello. My name is Dylan. I like websites. Websites are how you guys are going to make the most money. You can sit in your meta ads manager all day, but if people don't click the buy now button, you're not going to make $1. So I focused on websites. I built my first 2 e-com stores in my freshman year of college. I actually exited one of them before I graduated college, and then one shortly after. So been doing e-com for longer than I'm proud to admit that I hit my 30th recently. So we've been doing it for a minute. After that, I built an agency, Next Core Media, had several failed ventures between. This is my current business, heatmap.com, where, this is business number 8. So my biggest achievement to date before I had built Heatmap was splittesting.com. We were the largest CRO agency in the ecom space. Clients like True Classic and Hexclad and, Claire's. So a lot of the awesome brands that you guys, have probably bought from before. I split tested you, and thank you for the data. So we optimized billions in ecom revenue. Now on Heatmap, we're collecting trillions, and I can go more into that, but that's primarily the background. I mean, I've done SEO for Geico. We had, 6-figure monthly contracts. We've done it for Planet Fitness. So it does stem a lot beyond ecom, but that's all I focus on pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, you're like an internet kid for 12, 15 years, and you've just built a lot of stuff and seen a lot of things. So
who are you calling kid?
You're a 30-year-old kid, Dylan.
Yeah, I'm just a kid.
Why do you think CRO is so important? You talked a little bit about, you can sit in meta ads manager all day, but if you don't optimize where they're going to, like most agencies, most performance marketing, it's entirely focused on meta ads, ad creative, testing, tons of different ad variations, but it rarely ever happens on the website side.
Yep. So it's really like the purpose of each, right? So yeah, there's some legendary advertisements that like people remember forever, but let's be honest, none of those are like Facebook ads unless you're a marketer, right? So like some of the like legendary Apple ones, the Coke and Snapple ones, Doritos, like they've got a ton of amazing ads that were absolutely legendary and people remember. But those are typically like Super Bowl ads and TV ones. Those aren't like in meta, right? Like no one's really gonna remember that. So the purpose of an ad in e-commerce is just to get someone to your website. Like after you purchase or hopefully purchase, like you're not going to think back and be like, wow, like I really bought that product because I loved the ad. That's not how
Yeah,
it goes,
totally.
right? So the purpose of the ad is just to get the click, but a qualified click. So the purpose of the ad is to find the right people, which hopefully is Meta's doing. You're therefore targeting with your ad creative. You're getting them interested in something that they care about. And the cool thing is once someone gets to your website, they actually have something called confirmation bias. And confirmation bias is that they clicked on this ad because they thought it would be something they're interested in. And guess what? Humans like being right. So when they get to your website, you have confirmation bias to actually buy the product of the ad you just clicked on. So it's kind of like yours to lose at that point, unless they're just unqualified people that got to your website. So now, once they get to the website, the purpose of the website, if you're in e-commerce, it's your only salesman, right? Like you run an agency. It's amazing, by the way, if you guys haven't already. I literally see the metrics of Sharma Brands customers, and it's outstanding. But for you, like you're going and selling, right? Your website on its own can't collect agency revenue. It's, you got to go sell it. But for e-commerce, your website is your only salesman. So if your only salesman is terrible at closing, you're not going to close and you're probably going to struggle to get new clients. So that's why if you don't click buy now, the salesman can't close.
Yeah, when I was at Hintwater, you know, in beverage, there's basically a couple players that dominate the whole space. It's like Coke, Pepsi, and Keurig Dr. Pepper Snapple. And there's no way you can get shelf space in some of frozen is another category, insanely hard to get shelf space. Beverage is one, insanely hard to get shelf space. But we used to crush on e-commerce. And it was because I always thought of e-commerce as like the shelf space where you get it's not about owning the shelf space or the real estate on the shelf space. It's about who's the best at getting you to that digital shelf space. And it's very similar to what you're thinking. I want to come back to the product launch in a second, but the way that you think about the funnel is almost exactly how I feel like you built this new analytics product with the funnel mapping and all of that. Is that right?
100%. There's a phrase I give it like almost the top of all my keynotes, which is ask your customers what they want, give them what they want, and you get what you want, which is money. So
Yeah,
it's like whoever
100%.
understands their customers the best wins. A lot of people, focus on the UX. Should we have the sticky ads car bar? What flies out in the navigation? All that type of stuff. But at split testing, we literally ran over 4,000 split tests. 80% of those were just based on copywriting and changing images. That's the 80/20. It's like that's the content of your website. How you present the content is nowhere near as important, like maybe with the exception of like bundle builders and things to increase your AOV, but other than that, it's really just the message that you're giving. So with heat map, I kind of the way I look at CRO and like websites, it's kind of like what is happening. Like so it's like the way to think about it is you should care more where you're losing money than where you're making money, right? Because you could do like more of what's making you money, but like if you figure out what's not making you money, a heck ton of everything else is going to make you way more money. So it's kind of like in CRO, I always want to find the problems. So like we have AI recommendations inside of Heatmap, and they're actually based on this is underperforming. This is underperforming. But if I had AI insights saying, hey, great job, this CTA is doing really well, you're not going to be able to do anything, right? So if you think about the what comes from web analytics, which we did just announce literally 2 hours ago. I'm happy to go in, but web analytics kind of shares like the what is happening on your website. Heat maps and screen recordings tell you where the problems are happening. Then, how are they happening is like, to ultimately go into those. And then the why is actually based on customer feedback surveys, which we also have on the platform, kind of funnels or, where, and then ultimately like go and do it is like once you understand the problem and you understand why it's a problem at the top of that pyramid, now you can go in and, actually make meaningful change and super meaningful revenue from your website.
Yeah. It's funny because there's, like we get hired to do new website launches or relaunch a site and, with the goal of really increasing revenue per visitor or conversion rate. And so much of it, I mean, a lot of what we do is like, first we just look at what's working, and we do those things, the heat maps, the screen recordings, the scroll depth maps, etc. And but so much of really fine tuning and increasing click through, whether it's from homepage to collections to product to cart through checkout, is what you said, which is sometimes it's very basic UX, just making things easier to find, easier to click, more obvious, or it's changes in positioning and like what is the angle of selling the product.
Exactly. The angle is, 100, it's 100 to 1. It's what it
Yeah,
is. All my experience, yeah, 10 years of split testing, because in college I did actually start split testing. Shout out Ezra Firestone on Zipify when we used to be able to split test on those. That was my first one a minute ago. But the same way you look at websites has always been the same way I look at it as well. I've got a little bit of a hot take actually for you on full website redesigns.
amazing.
Um, so I am actually, if you are, a decently sized brand, call it like an 8-figure ecom brand, I actually recommend not rebuilding your website. So super hot take.
Okay.
But I'll tell you why it's actually not that hot, and it's kind of correct.
Okay.
In split testing, one of our selling angles is that what we called it is evolutionary redesign. So if you're going to redesign your website, it's going to be like 4-ish months. If it's like a really deep one, really big launch, you're already making 100 million a year. You don't want to just flip it on in 2 weeks, right? Could take 4 to 6 months to build. But if we start aggressively split testing, let's try several new layouts. Let's test several new angles. Let's test several new hero images. Let's test, several different collections page, like layouts, arrangements, which products should be there. It's called what we would call evolutionary redesign. That if you
Mhm.
stuck with us for those same 6 months that you might need to rebuild your website, data step by step in split testing, you're never going to implement something you don't know is a revenue increase. So you should be like improving your website over time. And I always said, yeah, we'll be running 4 split tests a month, but you're not going to recognize your website in 6 months. And it'll be all backed by data, all scientific, all proven, only revenue increase over time that we know once you have a new website, there's really no difference. Like, unless you're making a big marketing angle of it, like, hey, like, here's a whole new angle. Like, AG1 had like a legendary one where they totally
Right.
did. That's one of those few that I'll say like they did stick the landing tremendously, but usually I say no, don't rebuild your website. Use some evolutionary redesign and rebuild your website that way.
Yeah. I would say I like that approach. Typically, like we have clients that some like, Parachute Home, for example, we entirely redesigned that and relaunched it. I think we first launched it with a split test of traffic, like 90-10, just to make sure everything was working, and then 50-50, and then fully 100%. And we were insanely confident in the uptick that would come from it. But then we have other clients like, we when we rebuilt SolarWave's website or Salud's website, we were running all of their paid as well. So we were building landers and testing the new branding and different content modules within landers, seeing what worked, and then basically using that to build the new website. And then 100% of all ad traffic went to the website.
You're killing it. That's why I said you guys do great work. That's a couple of ways to do it, but yeah, it should be in steps and not just in the blind. We think this looks good. We think this looks good. Like, if you're not literally going to the point of picking up the phone and calling some customers to ask them, I always say you didn't go far enough.
Yeah. On that note, what are some, like, I think a lot of people think about CRO and they think about, okay, I'm going to change my button color, try an outline, try different CTA copy. Like, what are some of the misconceptions you see about CRO versus what are the actual things to focus on?
Totally. So I know I've been speaking about split testing a lot, but people think that CRO and split testing are synonymous, and that could not be more true. That is like the biggest falsity. People are like, oh, I can't work on CRO yet because I don't have enough traffic to split test. But that's crap. That's not true. So there's so many things that you could do because like I also hate the name CRO because it's conversion rate optimization. First off, fuck conversion rate. It's the worst metric. It's a vanity metric. Cut off all your ads and send 3
I want
emails.
to come
Your
back to that in a
conversion rate
second.
Yeah, please. Like, well, so conversion rate is a terrible one. So I hate the name. It's kind of like revenue optimization or like profit optimization, business optimization. That's really the way to look at it. So it's like the CROs, like more so than the media buyers, we're typically the ones sending customer feedback surveys to understand more about the customer. Site speed, we all know it's mission critical. That's CRO work, right? Building new landing pages, that's CRO work. Working on different angles and copywriting, CRO work. But what the truest CROs do, it's like what happens on your website is going to work everywhere else. Like it's proven
Hmm.
every time. So if a really good headline or an angle works on a landing page, go put that in your emails. Go run some ads that are similar to that. If you're making blogs for SEO, go make, content around that angle. If you're doing influencers, like their content should be more towards that angle that worked, stemmed from your website. So there's also something called live testing, which most people don't know about. There's split testing and there's live testing. Live testing just means putting something live on your website and monitoring heavily. I'm not against live testing. It has higher risk, but it's a lot faster and doesn't require a lot of traffic. So you can implement and wait. I'm not like a split test or die type of person. It's like you can go in and implement things in your website and see it. So you can run live tests.
What's an
Uh,
example of something you would split test versus live test?
um, Really good question. Never been asked that one. Um,
Because like split test,
so
I could see, maybe you're split testing an offer or a gift with purchase or something. But
yep.
live test, would that just be like a net new thing, like adding a bundle builder to the hero section of a homepage to see if you're driving click through and conversion that way?
Yeah, so one thing also is you do need to think of actually hot take like the limitations of split testing as a technology. If you're trying to build a whole brand new bundle builder, you can URL redirects like a 301, but 301 redirects take like a full second to load. That actually, if you do a URL redirect test, it's actually going to slow down your performance of your variant and not perform as well as it could live on your site. So
Right.
those ones that are really code heavy, I find that you kind of have to like run ads to it. And this is another one also that even if you're in smaller traffic, what I recommend is instead of a URL redirect, let's say you have two landing pages or two versions of a PDP you send traffic to, and one you want to change the buy box or a bundle builder, take identical ads in two different ad sets and run them. That's the only way to get a true A/B test with no other things in there. So that's kind of like a live test that also CRO, again, it's not just split testing. You can actually test with your ads two different things on your website, which is something that no one speaks about in CRO.
Right. Yeah, a lot of CRO I feel like is on the website side is where the testing is done versus in the actual split on ads manager. But I think that's because like Meta's the only ads manager you can rely on to do that. The
100%.
others you can't really rely on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe
another
a little
thought.
bit, but that's about it.
Yeah, another thought that just came to mind is so like for some clients we've done this where if their catalog traffic, if they get a lot of success with catalog traffic, you
Mhm.
know, PDPs are generally lighter in information than like a landing page, but landing pages convert better for prospecting traffic. But catalog ads go to PDPs. So we put them together and we'll just build a separate catalog, a separate duplicate of PDPs that are made for catalog ads. Have you done that before?
So I haven't specific to catalog ads. Drop some knowledge to everyone on the pod. It's not just about me.
Well, basically just the same way I think that like every source of traffic should have its own version of a page. Either because if you're coming from like a app loving, you have a different user experience that you've been familiar with before you get to the site. Same with TikTok. TikTok, it's a different user experience, very fast paced and quick. And so if you're not fast paced and quick on your site, you're gonna lose the person. Somebody coming from like an advertorial, they can have a much longer form thing. They're a lot slower paced. All that to say, catalog ad traffic, if you're prospecting with catalog ads, people are just going straight to a PDP. And if you don't have, all of the things that a landing page would have to educate and let somebody decide if they're going to convert or not, you're likely going to lose that given 99% of PDPs are very minimal, product information up top, maybe some content in the middle, and then usually just reviews. Um, and so sometimes we'll make duplicates of PDPs where they're just essentially landing pages, but they're still product pages fed into the catalog.
100%. Super interesting. Um, yeah, I love it. Catalog ads have been something that I think is pretty mind bending, like huge opportunity. A lot of people are missing out on those when they've got a lot of SKUs. So you actually asked me something before of live testing versus not. How do you approach that, right? Because you're able to run split tests in the agency, you're able to just implement things on the site. So I'm curious how you look at that one. No one's asked me that question before, so that's why I'm interested to get your take as well.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't say there's like a defined, you know, decision tree around what to split or live test, but I would say if it's something like, where we want to test an updated design of the variant selector on a PDP or flavor selector or a different design of the bundle builder to see if we can get, 6 bags in versus the normal 4. Those I feel like are good split tests, but if we were to, redesign, if we were to relaunch the if we saw that for a brand, there was a higher than normal percent of traffic going to the about page or the story page or the science page, to learn about how the products are created. Like those are pages I feel like if you redesign, you're probably redesigning it with a thesis of, okay, if we do this, we're going to increase, we can start to increase conversion or start driving sales from here. Those are things I feel like you could live test and just swap out pretty confidently. Or if it was like a content module, if you, on Parachute, if it's a content module showing how the sheets are made and put together and it was really just obviously better, I feel like those are things you can kind of live test
Fully
versus split
agree.
test.
So I actually remembered what I was going to say before because you were talking about, the different forms of traffic and like where they
Yeah,
come from. I'm about to drop a little bit of a knowledge bomb that I don't think anyone has shared big data on yet. So at
perfect.
Heatmap, we've collected trillions of data points. We have native ad integration, so we actually know a lot more than a traditional heat map that's just tracking UTMs. So we actually have a ton of data on that. What would you guess? So like I looked at about like 20 websites. I just put it on a spreadsheet. Like I didn't query the database. So like I'll get more data, but just based on those alone, the data was pretty like constant across them. So for Meta, and TikTok because I found they were the same. What do you think the average time on site is of someone who comes from Meta? And this is just last click, right? This is not like,
Yeah,
advanced. This is just someone came from Meta. I don't care if it's first time returning, whatever. Someone that comes from Meta, on average, how long does their session last?
2 seconds.
No, 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 no. So like on average, so for them, it's 53 seconds is what I found,
Oh,
which is
okay.
like
Wow.
a good session. Well, actually, so in heat map, we actually scrap all the crappy traffic. It's called junk
Oh, okay.
traffic.
I was
That's
thinking
that's a
about all the
big
sessions
term.
that come and leave too. Like majority is that. But
100%.
yeah,
That's
it makes
actually a
sense.
value prop that we have at Heatmap, which is there's definition of junk traffic. And you can look it up. Where junk traffic is bot, spam filter, like Shopify. It's good and bad because they are server side tracking. Because we're client side tracking. Like if someone instant like bounces, like someone clicks the ad and instantly leaves, that's counted by almost every other analytics platform. And I'm like, I don't want that in my data. I don't want that in my
Right.
client's data. So like
Can you
we
actually
discard it.
can you explain server side and client side? Somebody actually asked me what one of the softwares we use is, and I didn't know how to answer that.
Yeah, let me riff on this one because I've got a
Okay,
one
cool.
two
Yeah,
on
we'll
the
come
on the
back to
time on
this.
site. So TikTok, how long do you think the average is?
TikTok, 13
Discarding all the
seconds.
the crappy ones.
13 seconds.
So 41.
Wow.
And again, that's for like a quality session that for us, if they're above 5 seconds, is the only time we count them.
Got it.
So, these are like true ones, engaged sessions. So now for Google, what do you think average time on site is of engaged sessions?
A minute?
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Wow.
So
That's
it
a long
shows the
time.
intent. So the reason why, like in those ad platforms, TikTok is so fast, it's the shortest sessions because that's the nature of the content. And also, I forget the name, but and you might know it. It's where like it's almost like inbound ads where Google, someone was searching for something And then therefore they went and found the proper solution, which is probably yours. And now they were already there with intention to shop and buy. They go and buy more frequently. Conversion rate is almost like triple what Meta is as well, maybe not 4 or 5 times. So that's an interesting one that I found. That was just because we were talking time on site. So it's like on Meta and TikTok, people aren't there to go try and find your ad, but on Google they are.
Mhm.
So that's really like a big difference there. So just a fun nerd facts. We debuted it here. I don't think anyone has ever shared that data before.
Ever feel like your email marketing tools are working against you? The more you want to do, the more they start charging you. With OmniSend, customers can earn $68 on average for every dollar they spend. Why pay enterprise pricing for features you don't even use? With OmniSend, it's so good, it's boring, which is how it should be with email. No clunky dashboards, no unnecessary roadblocks, just a platform that lets you focus on strategy and revenue. Learn more or try it for free at nick.co/omnisend. That's nick.co/omnisend. It would be, so are you collecting this traffic? This is all through UTMs, right? Are you able to see referring URL as well, even if it doesn't have a UTM? Because I'd be curious to know what Reddit's time on site would be, not through an ad, but like as a referring URL coming from Reddit.
Reddit is a tiny fraction, but Reddit is also wicked powerful. Ecom is absolutely sleeping on Reddit like
Yeah.
tremendously. Um, it's pretty high as well. I saw it in like 2 or 3 of them, and they were looking like 1.5 to 2 minutes because it's definitely like more trusted, verified traffic. People aren't pitching their stuff on Reddit, so like
Right.
that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. One thing you said, talking about the Google click time, brought a thought in my head that I'm just curious what you think about this thought. I feel like there's always two funnels that you're constantly building. One funnel is like uh, basically selling the reason why you need this product. It tells you, well, you're kind of always prone to being sick. That's why you need colostrum, or you want to stop growing white hairs. You need colostrum. And then the second funnel is why is this one better than the others, or why is this one the one you should buy? That's the end of my thought. What do you think?
Interesting. So it's are you familiar with the different buying journeys? Like the stages of the buying journeys?
Like the ADA funnel,
Yeah, like, awareness, interest,
interest.
like yeah, the,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ADA funnel. Do you want to explain the ADA funnel to those who don't know it?
yeah.
Because then I'll
ADA.
tie it to the websites.
Okay, perfect. The ADA funnel stands for aware. It's a 4-part funnel. At the very top, awareness. Then awareness helps you drive interest. Interest helps you drive desire, which is intent, and then desire drives conversion. But for the record, I think this is outdated.
I don't fully disagree, but I think the foundations, like, yeah, you can add in like some people add social proof as one of those and that type of thing, but
Hmm.
there's the awareness phase, the buying phase, like the interest phase, like whether they're on your page or not. So
Hmm.
when someone's first coming, like again on Meta, TikTok, where most people discover you, which is top of funnel, they're not on TikTok to find you, right? So you gotta
100%.
take them away from their day and just educate the heck out of them. That's just all info. That's that copywriting and images I always come back to. So that's the top of funnel. And then once they return, maybe someone else mentions it, they might go direct traffic, which is more traffic percentage than most people think, even for the big brands. And then they'll go in and the website kind of does the rest. Like you said, that second half that just kind of swoops up the conversions
Hmm.
because more top of funnel. It's like, of course, people want a first time meta user to buy, but like that's not, if you're thinking in the grand scheme of things, that's not really the goal. So
Yeah.
that's where like those two types of pages that you shared are kind of like there's really three technically, if you want to go into those, where it's just, the different stages of awareness. That's the type of pages that they have to match the, how many times they've been on the website. If they're getting retargeted, they might be a little bit more direct response versus informational. And it's, matched to where they are on the buying journey.
Yeah, that's actually very true. I fully agree with that. My thought earlier around, ADA being outdated is like going back to, like you mentioned Coke earlier. In 1960, Coke had to run different stuff at billboards, different things on radio,
Mhm.
they like the funnel was really defined there because it was like different platforms are basically exclusively different parts of that. But today, whether it's TV or TikTok or YouTube or Meta or a bus wrap ad with a QR code on it, like almost all these placements have to be like full funnel, whether you have no idea what the product is or you're ready to make a purchase right now. These all of these ads and placements have to work as upper, middle, and lower funnel. Do you agree?
Can you elaborate for why they have to be all of them?
Yeah, well, they don't have to, but like if you look at like a brand like Viore, right? Like they run their TV ads as a performance channel, or like even when I was at Hint, we used to run our TV ads as a performance channel. But at the same time, it was also an amazing awareness play for retail. But if it was only created to be a awareness ad, then it wouldn't have also given the benefit on the direct response side. But what I'm trying to say is like whether it's a billboard or a TV ad or a TikTok ad, it almost has to work in the sense of it has to educate you and it has to make you want it, and then it has to give you something where you're excited to buy it, and then give you the opportunity to go and buy it or click that button.
I will hard disagree.
Okay, tell me.
So if you're on a billboard, probably driving in a car, or you're a passenger in a car, you're not whipping open your phone.
For sure.
There's a reason why there's top, middle, and bottom of funnel. There's different purpose, right? Like I would say that yours would hold true if you use the same ad creative everywhere.
Mhm.
But because there's a need for different ad creatives on not just a singular platform, which has top, middle, bottom of funnel, but nonetheless different mediums in physical life and digital, those require different efforts, right? Like if there was a QR code on a billboard, that'd be a pretty shitty creative. But if you're on a bus and you're sitting it outside of like a concert and you want their merch, you can click it and it could be to your house, and that QR code might be amazing. So getting that awareness, like there are different purposes for different touch points. Like I believe you might you can check me on this, but I believe True Classic, they started making brick and mortar,
Mhm.
but they have it lined as a marketing expense,
Right.
not for the purpose of driving revenue, but for the purpose of you're, in Soho in New York City and you're looking at a bunch of different places and they're like, "Oh, True Classic, I've heard of them." They might walk in, take it, top of funnel. Most people in retail don't actually buy, just like websites. So same thing happens, that is for brand awareness. So I think that every form of any property that has your brand on it has a completely different purpose.
I don't disagree with you. I guess what I'm saying is like almost whether the channel is considered a view through channel, like a TV, billboard, YouTube, or a click through channel, the creative still has to educate and get you excited to buy versus like just be a beautiful picture with a logo on it.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I call it like more the concept of, I guess, performance branding, like building brand
Performance
equity,
branding.
but on the back of like hardworking media.
Hardworking
Or
direct
you're just
response,
always trying to
baby.
make the media work as hard as it can?
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Okay, where should we go next? I feel like we totally derailed what we were gonna
Yeah,
talk about, but this
we
has
we
been a
tend to
fun
do this,
combo.
dude.
Okay, wait, can we talk about the site analytics? So you just launched basically you took everything from the original GA, Google Analytics, relaunched it. You added the funnel piece, which used to be that used to be my favorite feature in Facebook Ads Manager. They used to have a site analytics. This was pre-Cambridge Analytica, and you could see basically from every click where the drop off happens, and then just go diagnose the problem wherever you see the drop off. It was amazing, but that was taken out after Cambridge stuff. But why don't you just talk a little bit about the new product, or like what drove you to create it? I know you've been working on it too for a long time.
Yeah, it's no shortage of effort and saggy eyes, but so for those who don't know, I'm the founder of heatmap.com. We're the only revenue-based heat map in the world. So like I'm sure you guys have heard of Clarity or Hotjar. I mean, if you haven't heard of heatmap.com before and you're in e-commerce, like you're definitely using Hotjar or Clarity at the moment. They just show you clicks, and clicks don't pay the bills. Revenue does. That's kind of like our catchphrase a little bit. So it's like down to every single pixel. Like I can query the pixel of 729 comma 42 and literally see a pixel, and that's the type of technology that we have. So you're able to see on your navigation, if you're on your homepage, users who click the navigation, do they make more money than someone who scrolls all the way down and sees a content section? Both rationally in your head could make a lot of money, but one is going to make more based on it. So like clicks are very misleading. Like I could even make the case that click maps are like borderline unethical for e-commerce because they're so misleading that like you look at clicks, but are they leading to revenue or not? You don't know. So it could be leading you completely wrong if you don't have revenue tied to it. Then we build screen recordings. Those also need to be tied to revenue. Very important, right? You can like filter for AOV. And also we built every bit of custom dimensions that Google Analytics has. So like you want to see first time, uh, came from Meta, purchased for an AOV above a certain amount. What did those people do on my website? So like your whales first time come from Meta, really valuable people. What did they go and do? You can see funnel drop off analysis. We built all of that. And for literally 29 bucks a month, we just launched like 2 hours ago, web analytics. So like getting your good old universal analytics back, everything just works straight out the box. So with GA4, I'm sure you guys are super frustrated with it. I've been for years. Um, Custom code, manual tags. You hope like you shouldn't need a developer just to see your freaking data, right? Like that's kind of bonkers to me to think. Like if it wasn't free, I don't think there's a single human being on the planet that would use it. Or it's tied to Google Ads. It's the only reason. But other than that, yeah, like our AI also crushes. Like a lot of people say they have AI, that's cool, but like we're like obnoxiously specific about like, hey, your people are scrolling down on your PDPs a lot, but they're bouncing at a certain section. That means you need to work on your copywriting in this and this section. So it's like wicked specific. Like my goal is like, hopefully my brain is like for everyone for like a stupidly low price. Like that's kind of what we're going for there. So the web analytics just really plug and play, just like universal analytics used to be. You've got more than enough data. You've got more than enough AI to tell you what to do. So it's like I'd like to think a no-brainer. And like for the same thing, other companies would be charging like, I don't know, $5,000 a month and like really preying on the bigger companies. But I hate that. Like it should be affordable. That's, stupid.
And it's just 29 no matter how big you are.
For the web analytics, it starts at
Nice.
149 for the full behavioral suite and goes up to, some clients are paying 1,000, 1,500 a month, but those are your 9-figure companies.
Right,
So
right, right.
that's still wicked cheap.
What's the setup process? Is it quick? Shopify
Uh,
app or
So I'm proud to say my mom installed it on a on a Shopify store as my
that's
test to
the
see if our
ultimate
onboarding
test.
was good. So if that works, then I'm pretty confident in you guys watching limited supply right now. So yeah, it's literally 2 minutes and you're done forever.
Amazing. Um, Sick. Yeah, we've been using it, and we installed this on client sites when we roll them out, and it's been really helpful. And it's also been interesting because we used to use Clarity, so to see the difference between the clicks and the clicks driving revenue has been a big, honestly, probably the biggest benefit of using Heatmap.
Yeah, 100%. That's how we built it. That's why I have the original screenshot of my current CTO. They were a dev team for hire, and originally I was like, "Hey, is there a reason people aren't doing this?" He's like, "I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is possible or not." We actually have two tech patents. We actually did like pulled off the impossible. Like everyone's like, "Oh, well, that's like, why didn't I think of that?" It's like one of those cool ideas that you think of, but like the reason is it's really freaking hard to build. We've got 32 developers working away. They're amazing and they're the only reason why this thing literally even exists. So like, we've been out for, year and change. And like, I'm like, how come all the other emaps haven't done this? It seems pretty obvious to me. It's because they'd have to rebuild their whole platform. Like they can't.
Yeah, the Heatmap site is also just a good landing page for like B2B companies.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm curious where you see the role. Like we obviously see AI a bunch. We have the Ecom AI Summit coming up on June 25th. Where do you see AI's role in CRO, and even just outside of Heatmap? Like, where do you think? What are some crazy ideas of how you think AI is gonna come in? Like, one thought I had the other day was uh, instantly generative landing pages or instantly generative, even like product pages, depending on the source of the traffic, the location of the person, the IP address. You can get a rough address. You can understand their income. You might, you know,
Mhm.
change what kind of content is on the page. Where do you think AI is coming in?
So first I'm going to give one disclaimer that I'm starting to hate the word AI.
Why, you
There's
don't like
not
anonymous
much
Indians?
difference. Yeah, there's not much difference in between um advanced logic and decision trees and
Agreed. A
AI.
lot of it is just if then statements.
It's just if then statements. So I'm like, if you just have like 300 if then statements, congrats, you have something that feels like AI. So it's like
Hmm.
AI is bullcrap. It's just NLP, which is natural language processing, which is like chat talking to you and it feeling that way. That's the only innovation. All this other shit's been around forever. So that's kind of number one. So number two, the self-optimizing website is the thing that everyone's going after. There's companies like Data Milk. I think like they're like an Australian company, not super well known in the US. Like they do crush, but what they do is they take certain widgets and then they like optimize it for every single bit that you're talking about right now. Like what UTMs are they coming from? What ad are they coming from? Where are they based? What what's their age, gender? Like if they do have that type of PII, and then they just are like split testing it on their own, but that's limited to widgets. That's cool. Not gonna lie, I kind of pitched a version of the whole self-optimizing website to my investors a year and a half ago, because I thought that was the way, but I realized analytics is never going away because it's always going to need to be there, which was super interesting. They're like, so you were launching Google Analytics and not like self-optimizing websites. I'm like, hell yeah. So that's been a change. But so AI inside of CRO, um, you need the ICP like of the customer. You need to know about them. So if you don't have customer feedback surveys, you don't have heat maps and screen recordings telling you what they're doing on the website, and then like then eventually you'll be able to go there. So shout out to Shoplift of the of the split testing platforms, visually.io. They're also doing this as well. They're doing a lot of automated testing, but again, that's not AI. That's the future of
Hmm.
CRO is way too complex that like yeah, you can make like landing page builders that happen right away, but the self-optimizing website, which is like logically that's what everyone's running for, that's its own thing. And I don't think that will actually ever come true. It's always going to be deterministic trees that just tell you, oh, this person came from this ad. We should put this product to the top of the collection page or move this down. And like those are merchandising platforms. And what I really think is like just going to be this amalgamation of like all these different ones. And then what I'm not going to tell you, or I'll tell you offline, is what we've got coming up, which I think will change the game, remove the need for split testing, remove the need for personalization. And I think we can actually do all of it without ever touching the website. So that's all I can give, guys. But like, yeah, like just even if you don't sign up for EMAP, just like follow me on Twitter or some shit. Like, it's gonna be wild in about 6 months. You guys are gonna, yeah, it's I'm pumped.
Yeah, one other idea I had was like an agent where it basically it quickly looks at where the traffic is coming from. Um, and I don't know how fast this can. I'm like the Indian who doesn't know how to code, so I'm just talking out of my ass. But like imagine if you could see where the traffic is coming from, immediately scour Reddit, look at what the conversation is around the type of people from where the traffic is coming from, and then immediately split test headlines on a landing page or something. Like I
Mhm.
think there's going to be some crazy. There's also going to be some crazy ways that agents are built to help people who are doing CRO on a daily basis.
Couldn't agree more. We're building them just like most others. There's a lot of workflows. Like if you guys like sign up for n8n or make.com or any of these, like Nick, I could literally build what you're asking right now, probably in like 3 or 4 hours, like an
Yeah.
MVP. So it's like the access is there, and I'm like a 6 out of 10 Jewish developer, not a 0 out of 10 Indian developer. So, um,
That's just an
I can
embarrassment. A
code. I'm just
zero out of
not the
10
best,
Indian.
but yeah, we're pretty good. But like, yeah, a lot of that exists if you just pull it together. And the other cool thing is like if you guys go and actually do get your hands dirty inside of make.com, like it's really just a more advanced Zapier, to be honest. And I'm sure everyone here knows Zapier. Like every single one of those workflows that you build, you can just commoditize into a SaaS and you'll make money for the next like 3 years. After that, you'll be bust because like most people won't get their hands dirty. They just want to like click and like it works. So like most people won't do that. So just go and build out a whole bunch of workflows, no matter what industry you're in, to be honest, and just you can productize it and sell it as a SaaS, and boom, there you
I even,
go. It's
I even,
That's it.
I even think like Did you ever used to use Power Editor back in the day when it existed?
Oh, what a deep cut.
Right? Like Power Editor kind of forced you to learn all the pieces of what Ads Manager is built up of. And having used Power Editor, you kind of deconstruct the final product into a bunch of Lego pieces, but it allows you to use the final product later with 10 times more clarity because you know how everything works. And I think it's very similar here. The people who, the next 6 months, every big software company is going to integrate AI and agents and all these workflows within it. But if people don't spend even 6 hours max between now and the next month building these N8N workflows and understanding how the pieces work, they're not going to have a lot of clarity when in 6 months it's all just done by a couple of clicks, and they don't understand how the workflows actually work. And then I think the 6 months after that, there's going to be marketplaces that pop up where I can build a suite of agents and people can pay me a licensing fee to download them or use them or somehow. I
Dude,
don't know
they're
how
giving
that's
them
going to
out for
work.
free right now.
Who
Like
is?
there's so many people on like Twitter
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah, I bet. I
that just do
bet.
the like and comments and like give the N8N templates. All you have to do is like insert your API key, which you just go to OpenAI, just put it in, and like you
Totally.
pretty much have them.
Totally.
So like that reality is already here.
Yeah. No, but I think there's going to be like a proper consumer, like retail consumer, like retail investor, quote unquote, friendly marketplace with nice UI where like my mom goes and downloads an agent and pays 99 cents a month to have this agent do whatever it's supposed to do.
There's the name escapes me. There's a whole bunch of companies, just like I was saying, the self-optimizing website, ton of
Yeah.
companies gunning for the AI executive assistant. That's actually like a
Oh, yeah.
huge
That I've seen.
category
Totally.
investors are throwing money into.
Yeah.
So that's one I found interesting. So like that's kind of like,
I already have one. It's called Ramiz.
oh, shout out Ramiz. I hope you're watching this, dude. You're amazing. Jules, you're also great. Ramiz is the OG. No, but if you guys ever get the pleasure of interacting with Nick, just ask to talk to Ramiz instead of Nick. It's great. You'll love it.
Okay, Dylan, before we wrap up, what's one easy fix that every listener should implement on their website?
Run a customer feedback survey, let them tell you what to make your copy, and just do it.
And what do you ask in there to get that as what comes back?
Questions that start with what and how. It's a
Mm-hmm.
negotiating tactic from Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. So, what are you looking for? Like people are like, why did you choose us over others? Say no. What made you choose us over a competitor? What do you look for when buying like, supplements, for example, or sneakers, right? How what is most important? Yeah, like what's most important to you when buying for them? How do you think about buying sneakers, and like you can find things that are unique to them. They give you your USP. It's like you guys as the founders, you may work really hard to make the certain material, but like the customers don't give a heck about it. Like that's it. So like just let your customers tell them, like ask them what they want, tell them what they want, and give them what they want, which is money. The only best practice CRO in the world is just asking your customers, looking at data, and just fucking doing it.
Couldn't agree more. And that data you can then leverage in subject lines, ad copy, site copy, everything.
Everywhere. Like if honestly, if you have like a media buying agency and like they're not running some form of feedback, switch to Sharper Brands.
Love it. Amazing. Well, Dylan, where can people find you, hit you up, learn about heat map, try heat map?
So the domain's really hard to remember. It's heatmap.com. No, I love my domains. So yeah, go to heatmap.com, check it out, look all around. You can join Conversion Party if you scroll down to the bottom. I actually do write our newsletters, so like I'll be giving CRO advice all the time, every Wednesday. So join Conversion Party, super fun. At Dylan on all socials. And also I've got a book. I'm dropping the name right here.
Wow.
It's called Billion Dollar Websites
Amazing.
and
When does it
lessons
come
from
out?
optimizing 5 billion. So it's literally with the publishers right now. Just got interior book designs. It's all looking good. We're shipping it to printing in about like early next week. So that'll take about 6 weeks. I'll send some early copies out. So if you guys want, DM me. I'll put you guys on a little list and we'll get them out together. Literally every bit of knowledge I have, I put 2,000 hours into that shit. So like any question you could ask me is in that book, and it'll be like $20. So like, I'm pumped for everyone to have billion-dollar websites.
Amazing. Well, Dylan, thank you for coming on.
Pleasure, Nick.